Hello, Packers fans, and welcome into PackersNews.com. I'm Kassidy Hill, joined by Ryan Wood on a snowy day in Green Bay. It's beautiful. This is what we moved to Green Bay for, right? Can
I
you
went
see?
out to practice, and I swear I came back as Olaf.
I know got in my car and I just shivered for a few minutes after practice. I liked your picture from the practice field though today. It said this is why Green Bay has the best home field advantage in football. Very few
Best
compete.
natural, yeah, best natural. You can't duplicate this, right? I mean, the elements up here, they practice in this, they live in this, we live in this.
Yeah.
I'm sure that days like this, Cassie, you might miss Alabama a little bit, Florida a little bit.
I
But
looked at my
hey, you gotta embrace the suck, right? You just gotta
exactly.
embrace it.
As I think one day it was snowing and Dominique Daphne came out and said it feels like a movie practicing in this, and that's what it was. At 12:15, I texted one of the PR people and I was like, "Are we still going to be outside today? It's coming down pretty hard." And he was like, "Every day outside." I was like, "Okay,
Every
I'll be
single
there
day. Yep.
every single day."
I need to bring gloves next time. I couldn't even feel my hands when I came
Yeah,
back.
that's the key. That's the key. It was
Clutch.
beautiful. It's not supposed to snow on Sunday. It's supposed to be a winter storm this weekend, but Sunday night should be clear. But this is something that Chicago is used to as well. So is it kind of a wash when it comes to a divisional team like this?
No, you're right about that. Yeah, it really is. The
Mhm.
Bears know what they're doing in this type of weather as well. So, yeah, no, it's good classic winter matchup
Yeah.
for this rivalry game. The only thing missing is an actual rivalry
I
because
was about to, I was about to ask when you said the Bears know what they're doing in this type of weather. Do the Bears know what they're doing anywhere
in
else?
a football field in general, that's the question. It's not so
Okay.
much the snow and the wind and the cold. It's
Uh-huh.
just the football in general that Chicago is having a lot of struggle with and has for some time.
Right. And we're going to get into that matchup. Go ahead and put your questions in the comments as well. We have to show this comment. I love everything about it. Michael, listening from Ireland, says Ryan Wood, the best Packers reporter out there. Love listening to and watching him. All love from Ireland. Ryan, I don't know how much you paid Michael to say that, but it was money well spent.
Michael's actually my burner account. I came on and made sure that was there before we started so that we could start
Yep.
it off right. No, thank you, Michael. That's very kind of you to say.
Yeah. So go ahead and put your questions in the comments. Before we get to some questions and get to the Bears matchup, let's talk about Randall Cobb. And why don't you tell everyone, kind of catch everyone up on what Matt LaFleur said today about his injury? Before you do, just in case you forget, he was injured during the Rams game. From the way Matt LaFleur explained it, best we can understand is that he was injured on the touchdown, and I guess it was sort of almost aggravated in the celebration afterwards. That's why he went out at halftime and did not return. Take it from there.
Tough. I mean, basically just like what you said. I mean, it's at the apex of his season, right? I mean, I know he had the 3 touchdowns against Pittsburgh, but he had a 95 yards, 100-yard game with a touchdown and a half against the Rams on a really big stage, big game, another NFC contender. He shows out, right?
Mhm.
And just as soon as he does, he's gone indefinitely. And indefinitely is not the word that you want to hear in terms of how long a player is going to be at. They don't know. They've had a few indefinitely's. The Packers are waiting for some indefinitelys to still come back.
It's
David
the word of the season.
Bakhtiari,
Team.
Zadarius Smith, Jair Alexander did practice today. He was an indefinitely. Once you get in that indefinitely category, it's a vacuum in there. You can be gone a long time. So Matt LaFleur says a significant core muscle injury, and it's anyone's guess when Randall Cobb will be back.
I saw Randall Cobb on Tuesday. If you go to Packers News and check out, we were able to go join Randall Cobb at the Boys and Girls Club as he provided computers there. He was moving around fine, but obviously when you're on the field and you're getting hit, that's a whole different scenario. That's a whole different story. You've got to be careful. While we're plugging stories, go check out Ryan's story on the punter, Corey, whose last name I still cannot say. I'm ashamed.
Bojorquez. Oh, my goodness. So Spoon in the background there, early when he first got here, we had the hardest time pronouncing Corey Bojorquez's name. And I think that there's no greater feat I've had on the Packers beat this year than getting it down. I will never forget it. Bojorquez.
There you go.
It's wonderful, wonderful name. He's a stud.
You almost try to say it once you've learned to say it. It's like me with Tua Tagovailoa. I would just say it instead of just saying Tua, I'd be like, watch Tua Tagovailoa go. Once I learned how to say it, everyone was going to hear it.
I can only do Tua. I'm good with the Tua part. All the other letters are very, very challenging for me.
Or go ahead.
But the long and short is Corey Bojorquez is having the greatest punting season in the history of this franchise. It's not even close. He's set to he's on track to set gross and net records for a single season for this team by more than 2 yards apiece. He also has a chance to be only the third Packers punter ever and to rank in the top 10 in gross and net punting average, and the first since 1987, and the first ever potentially to rank inside the top 5 in both. He's fourth in net. No Packers punter's ever been finished the season in the top 5 in net punting. He's 8th in gross, so he has a chance to do a lot of things that's never been done here before. Now, here's the thing, though. There's a caveat, right? 3 more home games left in December. This is the hard part. But you know what? Corey Bojorquez led the league in gross punting at 50 yards per punt in Buffalo last season. So it's not something he can't do. He's been here before, and he wanted to come to Green Bay specifically to show that last year wasn't a fluke. He told me that he had an option of a dome team when the Rams traded him, and he said, no, I want the Packers so that I can shut everyone up about thinking that last year was a fluke, and he's done that this year. So, look, for me, and you sat next to me in the press box, my favorite Packers play this season has been a Corey Bojorquez punt. It's just a good punt is something to behold, and he's had a lot of them.
And it can change a game more than you realize. Holly asked, is King going to play? Kevin King.
He practiced today, so that's a good sign. Now, you were at the practice field yesterday. I don't know the injury report off the top of my head. Was he returned today, or was he there yesterday as well?
I remember seeing him out there. Spoon might know that better. He takes attendance. But I feel like I remember because most of my attention was on Jair Alexander yesterday.
It's hard to say if he's going to play, honestly, because this could be a situation where he doesn't play this week. He practices through the week and he plays next week. I'd almost guess that, but I've been wrong before. You could be surprised. I mean, I think Aaron Jones playing against the Rams was a bit of a surprise. So you never really know. But if I had to guess, Kevin King will be back next week, not this week. That's just my guess.
And then John asked, sort of along the same lines, do you think Jair Alexander will be playing when we play the Ravens, which would be the following week as well? He's been out at practice, but it's been baby steps.
Yeah, potentially. Right, that's the word that Matt LaFleur used himself. I think with Jair Alexander, Zadarius Smith, and David Bakhtiari, whenever the second two come back, and with Jair Alexander now, it's important to be measured and cautious with thinking that they're going to actually come back, because there can be setbacks. Just because they're practicing doesn't mean that David Bakhtiari had a setback, right? So they're on the practice field. He's on the practice field. That's a promising sign, a step in the right direction. But there are still a lot of steps to go between here and getting ready to play a game, especially with that shoulder. At that, try to hit someone with that shoulder. You can run around just fine, but hit someone as a corner, the range of motion, almost certainly going to be wearing a harness. So there is a lot for them to still figure out before he can play a game. But it's obviously a promising thing for him to be back on the practice field.
And then Burton asked, with Big Z and Jair out, how would that affect the offense against the Bears? Burton, I'm assuming you mean, like, how does that affect the Bears offense? Is that what you're taking from that? Sorry, I should have clarified that first.
Yeah, I don't know what that means. So,
Burton, clarify that statement for us, and we'll come back.
I think it'll be like it has been all year, where they haven't had Jair Alexander since September. They haven't had Zadarius Smith other than 18 snaps, and they've Rashawn Gary has emerged, and you've had Rasul Douglas, Eric Stokes emerge. I think you're going to continue seeing just what you've seen.
Yeah. I mean, you can never have too many corners, but they're not hurting necessarily. Would you agree with that statement, or would you say?
Well, the Packers
Alexander, you take
statistically, and let's just make a note that Matt LaFleur definitively confirmed today that yes, he does look at stats.
I knew it.
So we're hey, carte blanche, right? We can throw that out there whenever we want now. Yeah, because Matt LaFleur does.
These stats matter. Matt LaFleur said so.
Yes, statistically, the Packers have been in the top 10 defense without those two. So pretty good.
I'm looking now. Let's see. They are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They are 9th in the league, so still top 10 in passing yards allowed per game right now. And that's after playing the Rams, a pass-heavy team.
Yeah, I wouldn't even talk about passing yards. I'm talking about total yards and points. So that's passing.
I was thinking corners, so I'm thinking more passing yards. That's fair. Okay. Michael points out with Cobb out, does Green Bay use EQ and Amari Rodgers on third down situations?
Yeah. Our Tom Silverstein, who is over my shoulder right there, asked Matt LaFleur today about who emerges with Randall Cobb out, and it's going to be a good opportunity for Equanimeous St. Brown, who has been kind of earning his way on special teams. The revelation after being released this season that special teams matter. He's kind of taken hold of that, and now he's going to have an opportunity to be able to get more playing time, perhaps. Obviously, Allen Lazard is going to be that number 3, but he's already been that number 3. So it's EQ is kind of he's ascending now that depth chart into the 4th spot. Amari Rodgers, I believe he'll contribute on offense when you see it. I guess he's really he's the punt returner right now.
Right. And Thomas asked who's going to return punts. We know that they had been working Randall Cobb alongside Amari Rodgers. Can be safe to assume it's going to go solely back to Amari Rodgers now.
Yes.
Or would Malik Taylor be in the mix?
No, it'll be Amari Rodgers.
Okay. Levi asked, do we see a big leap in production from MVS going forward?
It's a good question. His last 2 games have kind of been MVS-ish, right? It's what you get from MVS. He goes off against Minnesota, and then he has 50 yards against the Rams. So the thing for him, it might just always be that way because he is kind of like that sharp-shooting three-point specialist in basketball. He's going to have a lot of those deep shots, and they're going to be big plays when he makes them, and then he's going to have his clankers as well. So that's kind of been the way he's been. But to have that speed and that deep threat on the field, even if he's not catching a pass, it has an influence on the rest of the offense, and it helps tilt the field because everyone has to respect that speed. So, he's caught, I think, 17 of 39 targets this year. That's the type of efficiency you're going to get from him. But when he get, of those 17, there's a lot of big plays in there.
Randy points out tonight's Thursday night football game between Pittsburgh and Minnesota could end up being a good game for Packers fans to watch because it could mean an NFC North clinch. I'm trying to do the math in my head. That would be correct, right? Or is it still dependent on Green Bay winning Sunday?
I don't know, but they're going to win the division, and this division was over sometime around the first week of August when Aaron Rodgers showed up to play.
That could make Sunday. I heard Lamar Jackson one time call it a hat and T-shirt game, and that could make Sunday a hat and T-shirt game for Green Bay.
Now, this is a team that's been focused on NFC playoff seedings and not the NFC North for weeks now. So,
and since we brought that up, let's just address this real quick. I know that Spoon and I talked about this yesterday on our Facebook Live as well, but let's talk about it here real quick. Not only would that help the Packers clinch the NFC North, but the Cardinals currently have one less loss than Green Bay, but they play the Rams on Sunday in LA. Green Bay holds the tiebreaker. Sunday could be a huge day all around when it comes time for seeding. And
I don't know the rest of the Cardinals schedule, but that's about – I'd be surprised if there was a better chance for a loss for the Cardinals than that.
Right.
I mean, that has potential.
It's fairly easy, but that Sunday game against the Rams in LA is one to watch for sure.
Sunday game or Monday game?
Actually, it is a Monday game. I think
That's
you're
all.
right. I'm pretty sure that's the Monday primetime game.
So that's I definitely that's a big game as far as that's much bigger than Viking Steelers.
Right, exactly. This is just going to be on in the background tonight. Levi asked, do they sell out to stop Montgomery and force Fields to beat them? And Rebecca sort of asked the same question up here. Are the Packers going to have to load the box to stop Montgomery?
Yes. Yeah. And make Justin Fields play quarterback, which, he's not Mitch Trubisky, but doing the same thing. Now, here's the thing. It's similar because Mitch Trubisky could also run a little bit. So you got to, not Justin Fields, but you got to keep Justin Fields in that pocket, not let him beat you with his legs. But yeah, you got to. It's going to be about the run game, loading up the box, and having a controlled rush and making Justin Fields play quarterback.
Justin Fields has been named the starter for Sunday. Justin Fields' biggest holdup seems to be, this is just my opinion, seems to be Matt Nagy. There was like a game when Matt Nagy couldn't coach. I think he was in quarantine. And the plays called for Justin Fields was a completely different game plan. And that was the best he's looked all season.
Yeah, the thing you never know is how much of that is what the quarterback's capable of and not wanting to put too much on his plate. Rookie quarterbacks in general, it's a steep learning curve. It's hard to come in. There's not a lot of Justin Herberts out there. It's hard to come into this league and excel year one. It doesn't mean that you're not ever going to get there, but for a rookie quarterback, it's really tough. So that's where, any rookie, but this one specifically, Justin Fields, you want to make him read his progressions. You want to make him play quarterback.
Several people pointing out and reminding us Arizona also has to play at Dallas week 16. So that could end up being a huge.
There you go. Yeah, I'm not an expert on the Arizona Cardinals schedule, so thank you for that. That's a big one.
I'm aghast. How do you not know their schedule by heart?
The Packers have the Detroit Lions on week 17, so
week 17.
That's a good way to close it out. I think not to get a little ahead here, but look at the Packers having 5 games left. 14-3 looks like a real possibility. I don't know if they're. I think they just played their hardest game that they had left on the schedule against the Rams, and they won that game pretty soundly. So, barring injury, you don't know. A lot can happen in 5 weeks, so they got to stay healthy. But if they don't get any more injured than here, which means if Aaron Rodgers continues to play, they could be looking at 5-0, which really, really puts the pressure on the rest of the NFC, but especially those Arizona Cardinals, because they lose once. That head-to-head tiebreaker takes effect.
And the Ravens on a cold Sunday, December afternoon could end up being a tricky game, but it's winnable. It's definitely winnable. I'm trying to see if that with Mac out, should that help the O-line just stop Hicks from wrecking shop? Sorry, I was reading it as I put it up. With Mac out, that should help the O-line just stop Hicks from wrecking shop. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like taking the Rams and, if they did, the Packers offensive line did pretty well against Aaron Donald and Von Miller. Well, take away Von Miller and just do Aaron Donald, which they did last year in, the NFC divisional game. I know Aaron Donald was injured, but it's an entirely different thing when you only have an interior guy as opposed to an edge rusher on the same side that can wreak havoc as well. So, yeah, that's big.
And then we'll take the last one here. I know we've got coaches coming up here in a minute. Is it better to pressure Fields or play coverage and make him be accurate? I think that's kind of what we were saying a second ago, too, about make him play quarterback.
You always want to pressure the quarterback, but the way you do it matters. With Justin Fields, you can't get outside your rush lanes because then, especially if you're playing man-to-man, I don't know if they'll play man or zone this week, but if you're playing man and you get outside your rush lanes, he'll pick up a lot of yards. So you got to have a controlled rush. You want to pressure him. You want to make him uncomfortable. You want to hit him for sure. But yeah, it's all about pressuring him with the controlled rush and being sound in your coverage and making him read through his progressions.
Yeah. Like I said, we've got assistant coaches coming up here in just a minute. So we're going to head to that. Thank you all for joining us today. If you are watching this later tonight, drop some more questions in the comments. We'll try to grab those when we do this tomorrow. Thanks so much, and stay tuned to PackersNews.com for full coverage as the Packers get ready to face the Chicago Bears.